Welcome back to Last of Us Part 2. Hey Jesse, glad you're still here, buddy.
Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move.
Neil says, hold my beer.
Oh boy. You know,
The beer he and Hallie were drinking when they were writing.
Alright, so once again, more doggies. Don't worry, I will try my best not to kill any of them.
I'd just like to point out that it's raining now. Rain tends to mess with a dog's scent here and there.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
it
I'm not
depends on the circumstances.
I'm not a specialist on that matter, so I will refrain from saying anything.
Let me look it up just to specify.
To be fair, I'm not gonna really get miffed if that is indeed the case. I mean,
Oh no, I'm not either. I'm just curious because I'd never heard of that.
to be honest, I can do without that in the game.
And
to
I
be
might as
fair.
well learn some things, and this game isn't going to teach me anything.
Amen to that. Basically, when a dog gets overly wet here and there, their senses tend to get a bit overwhelmed with the wetness here and there. It depends on the circumstances, and if they don't get overly wet, they can still step out here and there. But you know how wetness tends to clean you and sometimes wash off your scent. Think about it like that, but to a grander scale.
Sure.
I guess I just feel it's a bit weird that the game immediately starts raining when the dogs are brought into play. Like, are you trying to tell me something, your game?
Not really, no. It's just raining because water effects. There you go. That's hiding
Also,
here.
rain makes things look a little more dramatic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Move. There you go.
They're talking about their hopes and their dreams, and we're gonna just murder them.
Of course.
Pretty much. Don't you
Yeah.
see? They had hopes and dreams and a family, but Ellie took them all.
Yeah, our united passions will keep us together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, an interesting statue just standing there. Or a mannequin.
They have hopes and dreams, but we have determination.
Yeah, quiet as I say as I stab you in the throat.
Oh, snap.
It's like I said in a previous pod, Dwibs, you can't be more quieter than a dead person.
Don't you mean wolf or something, Jova?
There you go. Fortunately, there you go. Now we can just hide here. Underwater.
And drown, apparently.
Well, actually, no. And you'll notice in the bottom right corner we have an air meter. So Ellie can hold her breath, and as you can see, there's an air meter there. So we can hold our
And it
breath.
seems to last quite a while.
Not really, Shiroi. Like the length that Ellie can hold her breath is reasonably normal. So no, not really. No. It's fine. I mean, come on, Dwibs. There are plenty of people who literally do swimming really deep into water for as their job. So come on, the human body can take a little more than what you were just implying right now. I mean, like the moment she does into the water, you immediately go and drown. Jeez, come on.
Well, also what I meant, but
Not to mention, like we've already established in the flashbacks, Joel taught her how to swim. So.
According to Guinness Book of World Records, the record for how long someone's been able to hold their breath is 24 minutes and 3 seconds.
Holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mind you, it takes a lot of practice to do that, but still.
And some incredibly healthy lungs.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, I think of some of these world records, and it's just like, who wakes up one day and decides, I'm going to do this? And sometimes it's the most stupid shit.
It's people who were born with a specific gift, Shiroi, and they take advantage of that gift to basically, make something of it.
Hey, let's not forget our good old friend Steve Bloom, who holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most voice acting roles, period.
Or Oh, really? He actually surpassed Mel Blanc when it comes to that?
Yeah.
cool.
It's even mentioned.
Well, then again,
you know.
there's a lot more animation to voice than back in Mel Blanc's day, to be fair. So yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And to be fair to Steve Bloom, it's not like he doesn't have range. I mean, he was a guy who went from voicing that Spike guy from Cowboy Bebop to bloody Guilmon in Digimon Season 3.
It's also...
yeah, he actually received that award back in May 10th, 2012. Guinness World Records, most prolific video game voice actor, and then later went on to get, pretty much that. 261 credits as of that time, and counting.
Not to mention, Shiroi, like, that's not even the most impressive record. Like, there's record of someone who has, like, I once saw because there was once a TV show based on the Guinness World of Records where they literally have people come on TV and try to beat the records.
Yeah, well, they still air that, but at like 3 a.m.
Yeah. All right, scene.
I don't sleep.
Sorry, air what? Sorry.
Well, me and
they air it, on TV.
Well, it's like like me and Shiro are very night persons, basically.
Well, I'm kind of one.
The term is nocturnal.
That's it.
Yes.
I'm not an owl.
So, okay. So here's the thing. He has both the award for most prolific video game voice actor, and he also has the voiceover Guinness Book World of Records. So, yeah, that's 2 ones. One for video game voice acting, and the other for voiceovers in general.
Fun fact, the first Eddie Premonition holds the Guinness World Records for the most critically polarizing survival horror game.
Oh wow!
Well, even more so than this one. Damn.
Well, okay.
Well, polarizing this. By polarizing, I mean like half of the critics think it's shit, half of the critics think it's good, basically.
Like here's the thing about this game, Dweebs. The majority agree that there are problems with this game, and yes, while the critics may try and fluff stuff up as it is, general consensus is pretty apparent with how the internet's been reacting to the game pretty negatively.
Not to mention this was back in 2010. It was a different time.
Well, when it comes to critical consensuses, I'm always very torn on what I should believe more about anything, whether it be a film or a game.
Oh, that's easy.
Or whatever.
That's easy, Dweebs. There's only one person you should trust when it comes to that: yourself. That's the best way to handle about things.
If I'm unsure about
sometimes consensuses can influence people whether to check out a product or not.
I never do that. I've learned of experience that even general is usually. Let's not forget that the critical consensus of No Country for Old Men. So it's like you should never rely on anybody else. No, that's my philosophy when it comes to these things.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, when I bought the first season of Fruits Basket 2019 recently, I bought it because I heard about it, was interested in it, and I just saw it lying. I just saw both parts of the season there at HMV. So I
can even bring up an inverse example, Dweebs.
I haven't seen it yet, by the way.
I think overall, here's how it should be. Consensus can play a part in stuff in maybe dictating whether or not you want to actually see something or whatnot, but in terms of, whether or not you should like it or whatnot, that's mainly up to you. I mainly use consensus to get a good idea on if I should waste my money on, actually giving it a try. And, I say that the consensus is always God, but I will give consensus this. General consensus, more often than not, has yielded me more positive results than negative. There have been definitely some cases where I go against the general consensus, but for the most part, general consensus can be good. Like, for example, something like Rotten Tomatoes, one thing we tend to forget, the percentage is based off of how many people actually had positive reviews to say about it. Not so much about, not so much a rounding of critical scores, which a lot of people tend to forget with Rotten Tomatoes.
You were saying, Pedro?
I can bring you an inverse example, Dweebs. Whereas back in 2009, when Dave Bower's Astro Boy movie came out and the critics hated it, saying it had a political agenda, and we watched it and we enjoyed it, didn't we? We even
any agenda.
Exactly. Like there's somebody clearly who has an agenda here, and it's not the movie. Just saying.
I enjoyed that movie. What?
Anyway,
like-
I want to watch this cutscene. Exactly. Jesse wants to help Tommy.
What other Tommies do you know?
Hold on.
I mean, Ellie kind of has a point. We've been trying to catch up with Tommy, but not. But okay, for the sake of the narrative, Ellie, I guess, is in the wrong. Are you sure about that?
You do this, I'm not saving your ass again.
I really hope you make it.
Okay, like I said, for as much issue I do have with where the story will eventually go, the first half does kind of do something of a better job of trying to show us how Ellie's vengeance is eventually going a bit too far. Like, if the game were mainly the first half, I wouldn't have as many complaints as I do about it. Like, here, it is actually a good example how Ellie is letting her emotions get the better of her here, clearly.
Not just, and the big problem is that, like we've mentioned before, the characters don't really don't do enough. Like, they should flat out tell her, "No, Ellie, listen to yourself. You're literally suggesting we should just leave Tommy on his own." Like, and it's just one of those cases where, like, the characters don't really call her out on it. Dean, of course, doesn't do jack shit. Jesse tries, but even he doesn't try enough. I guess, like us, he's realized it's useless.
Like, okay, I could maybe be willing to give Jesse some leeway in that he did try to have an argument with her, and if we were to consider the stances here, he doesn't want to get into a yelling argument because that could risk drawing unwanted attention, so fair enough.
That is true, actually, yeah.
Dina has no excuse whatsoever, gameplay-wise or story-wise, not to have tried to call Ellie out more or call her to reason better here and there.
Yeah, I've got an example of my own experiences with going against the consensus of stuff.
Yes.
A Doctor Who episode from the Peter Capaldi era called "Listen."
Oh, that one.
I'm guessing it's not liked by a lot of people, or
Actually, from what I understand, quite a few people seem to like it. I thought it was boring.
I'll say it like this: always take into consideration a mix of what the critics are saying, what the fans are saying, and what people who actually care about the franchises actually say.
There's definitely been times I've disagreed with fandoms as well as professional critics as well.
well, when it comes to video games, since LPs typically get posted from the release day, I tend to just watch the first couple of hours of a game to see if it's something I'd actually like, if it's something I'm already interested in.
That is one benefit games have. They are a lot easier to scan and see if you're interested in. Whereas a movie, a lot of times you do have to take the brunt of the bullet or risk spoiling yourself to see if the movie is worth it.
So what you're saying is kind of like how I streamed the first 2 hours of the premonition for you, and it's based on that you're gonna get the premonition too.
Yeah, I really like it.
Okay. Now you want to know?
I found speaking of games you streamed for me that I'm also interested in. I found my limited edition copy of Grace's F.
Awesome.
It's
one of my personal favorite PS3 JRPGs.
Because I recently moved earlier in the year, so I found a bunch of stuff, including that. So yay!
Cool.
Nice one.
That's also in my backlog now. Yay!
You want to know one of the funniest examples of critics clearly just looking for attention here and there? Joker.
No, that's the most obvious example.
Well, nonetheless, it bears mentioning. Hey, critics, you talked about how this movie was supposedly going to bring in all anarchy and how everyone would think that.
Wasn't that mostly Fox News, though? Not.
Well, actually, if you go check the reviews themselves, a lot of people talk about how this movie is dangerous and all that. It's basically the Clockwork Orange of the 21st century.
Don't we also get harassed by those people, though?
No, fortunately, the director was not was not sent death threats or anything like Kubrick was.
Good.
Fortunately, it seems
what's
like
funny?
at the very least, the world has evolved beyond that. At least it seems.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? The same critics that were saying, "Oh, this Joker movie is too excessively violent," or "This is a bad influence," were the same critics who praised Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey movie.
It's one of those.
Well, I mean, Joker was at least. I mean, as much of a mind fuck it can be at times, Joker was still, for the most part, a coherent, entertaining movie without any of the flashy bullshit that Birds of Prey tried to do.
My issue,
No, don't get me wrong.
my issue is not so much Harley Quinn herself. It's more so the way the game focuses way too much on her and doesn't develop the actual Birds of Prey. You know?
I'll just
Yeah,
say
they're
this.
the title characters, and yet they're not even together till like the very
The
end.
movie would have been a lot more fun if it had actually included them all, though, because they
Yeah.
were fun.
Yeah. I mean, sure, this is a good point. The characters are pretty good. It's the problem, well, except for Cassandra Cain, who really got the short end of the stick. But nonetheless, it was the sum of their parts that unfortunately
Yeah, I
did
mean,
not.
The
matter.
story doesn't
My-
really lend itself for them to do much.
I mean, my favorite one of the Birds of Prey is the Huntress.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Same.
neat.
It's
That
mostly
seems to be a lot of people's favorite.
no. My only real main problem. The reason why I don't like that movie at all is mostly because it basically pulls the Ghostbusters 2016 thing of turning every man to either an asshole or stupid, you know, which is feel like. And don't get me wrong, I understand that Ewan McGregor's character is the villain, so of course he's gonna be doing bad stuff. But did we really need to have a scene where he literally threatens a woman to death if she doesn't get up on a table and strip for absolutely no reason? It's
think one of
just
the
it's just
weirdest
been
Well, he said to
sp-
dance. I don't think he said to strip.
no, he did, Shira. He did. Sorry,
Did he?
I saw the movie. Sorry.
But again, as I said to you before off commentary, it's a movie set in Gotham, so I don't really know what to tell you.
No, it's one of those. Well, no,
Everyone's
no.
a shitbag.
No, well, I get that, Shira. The problem is that I get that, Shira. The problem is that the movie is so full of that stuff. I think. Okay, how about that? Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I think a better way to solidify this is this. He acts that way for like the latter half of the movie. His behavior kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, he's established as somewhat respectable, maybe a bit crass. It's like only in like the second half of the movie where they have him act this cartoonishly evil.
This is
for,
true,
like,
actually.
almost no reason. Like, that I think is the main reason why we bring up the behavior feeling weird. It's like it feels out of nowhere, and it doesn't work unless you're writing a character like maybe Victor Zsasz.
Let me put it
or,
that-
I don't know, a Joker.
All right, I'll give you that.
It's one of those things, Shira, where okay, if it was the Joker doing this, I think I would be a bit more willing to accept this because the Joker is just insane. But Black Mask is not supposed to be that kind of character.
Well, okay,
Sure.
Yeah, which is it's funny you mentioned Victor Zsasz, Jover, because he's in Birds of Prey. He's Black Mask's right hand man.
Of course he is. But okay, to be fair, Black Mask has been portrayed as rather insane from time and time again. I think my main issue is just that his character is inconsistent to how he acts in the first half of the movie. Like, they should have just picked his character arc and stuck with it. And if he's gonna act crazy all of a sudden, well, give him a good reason to, and
Yeah,
for that
it's because-
out of crazy.
Yeah, it's what Jova says. Forgot the first half of the game. Sorry, of the movie. He's a villain, but he's a relatively typical villain. And then all of a sudden we had that scene in the bar where he sees a woman laughing for a completely unrelated matter to the one that he's frustrated about. But then he comes to her and goes, "Are you laughing about my misfortune?" And no, she isn't, dude. She was
No, she wasn't.
She was.
Right.
She even says, "No, my friend just told me a joke here." And then that's when he forces her to strip and all that shit. And it's such a what the fuck is going on scene. It just feels mean spirited. I wouldn't even mind that so much, but literally, it's the big problem I have with that movie. That it feels very it feels very toxic for me in the same way that Ghost of 2016 did, like where every man is depicted in a negative, horrible light.
I thought that movie was just very boring, to be honest.
Not to mention.
Well, you have to understand, Shiro, that obviously when it comes to these kinds of problems that I'm to talk, obviously you're not going to be as insulted by this as I will, because but I'm sure if it's the inverse, where a movie treats all women like shit and every man like angels, obviously you're going to take an issue with that, obviously. And I'm wrong, I will too, but go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Not to mention, from what I understand, at least according to TV Tropes' page, apparently the Cassandra Cain character apparently got turned from a CV Tropes would quote it, a dyslexic and near-mute badass normal and the world's best warrior, to a much younger normal kid whom the adults need to protect, with some seeing it as a betrayal of one of the best Asian superheroes. And bear in mind, the director and screenwriter of the movie are both Asian women. So basically they're fucking up their own... I don't even...
I'm not even
anything about that.
I'm not even comment on that.
Okay, sure. Let me just put it like this.
It's just bizarre.
But let me just put it like this, Sherry. Cassandra Cain is essentially Batgirl in the comics. She is not in the movie for no reason, and it's incredibly baffling. Like, imagine if per se... Well, okay, no. Joker did that, so that's not a good example.
No, I got it. What if, like, they turned Batman into, I don't know, some random 15-year-old?
Well, that's what I mean. Joker kinda did that, but it did that with
That's a prequel.
Yeah, a prequel. And whereas with Cassandra Cain, I have no idea why they stripped her of being awesome, and I just realized that's another thing that's more interesting to talk about than this game.
It's one of those things where it feels a lot like to me that... Again, like we were talking about Astro Boy's bullshit claim from the critics that the movie has a political agenda, even though that's complete horror. We have a generic politician who wants to get an election, and that's why he's evil, and that equates to political agenda. Like, okay, last I checked, Jova, a movie having a political agenda means it actually takes a stance when it comes to real life politics, not have a fictional president wanting to get elected.
This is like in-universe politics. It's not meant to be a commentary on real-life politics.
At all. Like,
it is political, but it doesn't have a political agenda. Please separate the two.
I hesitate to even call that political, Shiroi. It's literally just a guy who wants to get reelected, and he does evil things for it. But that's it. But the movie never actually reflects on his ethics. It's just an excuse for him to be the villain. That's all it is. And you're not...
To be fair, that is technically political, but only in like the very basic sense that, yes, it has political elements here. That does not mean it has a political agenda, though. Like, having politics themselves aren't genuinely a problem. It's how politically fueled a plot is. And that plot is not really politically fueled. It just so happens to have politics as, a side product of the villain's wrongdoings, mind you.
It just comes across as, okay, you want to talk agenda? Yeah.
Oh my God,
critics...
Go ahead. That guy pretty much summed it up well. We're getting all antsy and we're just getting holding patterns. It's almost like they're waiting for us to pick them off.
And if anything, the critics were the ones who seemed like they had some kind of agenda when it comes to reviewing that movie. Just saying, because talk about the most weird complaint to voice about that movie. Whatever. So yeah, the point is we're supposed to get to that boat and steal it from them, like we said before. There you go.
I love how the mooks for a moment had a bit of clarity here with how stupid things are getting.
The fun fact is that it happened again recently with the new Addams Family movie to me, because me and Shiroi enjoyed it. Hell, Pixie loved it. And it's one of those things where I'm still waiting for someone to properly explain to me what's supposed to be so bad about that movie, to be honest.
Really? I didn't hear it was bad. From what I understand, the general consensus.
Well, I'm talking
was
about the
just
critics.
that- I didn't even really see that from the critics, right? I thought it was just that the general consensus was that it was okay.
That's not what the critics said, actually. Let me get it. The actual. It has a rotten rating and everything. So
Yeah, because I mean, despite how on the nose the particular message it's going for was, it's a very enjoyable family film. It's a nice movie.
Let's see.
I'm seeing it right now. Okay, here we go. It has a 44%, and look at that. The audience score is 69%. So this is yet another case of critic audience
Nice.
dissonance. So it says here on
Of
the
course.
it says here on the critics dissonance, the Addams Family voice cast and eye-catching animation aren't enough to outweigh its saccharine handling of its delightfully dark source material. Yeah, as a big
Oh, this is what you're talking about. Okay.
well, okay. I can. Don't worry, guys. I am a Addams Family veteran, so I can properly. I know this, so allow me. No, guys. I get that you love the Barrett and Sonnenfeld films. Trust me, I love those too. But those movies are not the source material. The strips are, and by extension, the '60s sitcom. And those were not all that dark. Yes, the Barry Sonnenfeld films had a more risque, dark humor compared to the '60s sitcom. And if that's the stuff you grew up with, that's fine. I love those movies too. But to say that, it's a saccharine take on what was such delightfully dark, no. If you actually watch the 1960s sitcom, yes, it has that quirky. Oh my God, they like. The opposite of what normal people like type of humor that we all love from the Addams Family, but it never goes into dark humor territory outright. It's just kooky and weird as it's meant to be. So no, this idea that, because I know this because I've actually read some of these reviews. A lot of these reviews compare this film to the Barry Sonnenfeld films, which is because as a big veteran of the franchise. Well, hold on, Liz, I'll catch you up in a moment. As a big fan of the franchise itself, I can tell you that the primary inspiration for the movie is the '60s sitcom, which is an actual proper source material because the creator of the franchise was involved in that sitcom. So, but go ahead, Jova, you were saying.
I was talking about the game actually. Is that
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I love how the mooks point out the stupidity of being held in holding patterns, like they're just waiting to be picked off here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, rather lucid of them.
I was just asking what you were referring to, Pedro.
The new Addams Family movie and how the critics didn't like it, but the audiences did.
Yeah. From what I've heard of it, from I guess the general consensus, that being of the fans, is like, well, it's fine, not amazing, but it's fine.
I actually think it's pretty good, to be honest. Like, as a big fan myself, I really appreciate all the references that they do. Like, for example, it's the first adaptation since the '60s sitcom to bring back Leo the Lion, which was their pet in the '60s sitcom. So that's a neat little reference that only people like me will get. So that's nice.
I mean, I've been a bit hesitant to see the movie, mainly because of who was directing it.
Who?
True, there's, but
The same guys who made Sausage Party.
Yeah, Shiroi, you hated Sausage Party 2. You want to contribute to Dwebs' fears?
Wait, fears for what? Sorry.
Dwebs was fearful.
You watched Sausage Party, Shiroi?
Yes, I did.
Dwebs was fearful of watching the Addams Family film because it's from the same directors. Shiroi?
Oh God, no! You have nothing to worry about. I've seen both movies. Trust me, it's fine.
There you go. Well, it's written by different people, even. So.
I'm not even fine in the sense of the bar was already so low. No, the Addams Family movie is actually a really fun movie.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's because as a big fan who has seen all of the adaptations and even read most of the strips, I can tell you that the movie is clearly a movie made for Addams Family veterans who are familiar with all of the material, not just the '90s movies.
And apparently the film was a financial success considering its low budget.
That's cool. It's one of those cases where the movie clearly emulated more the 60s sitcom, and I guess most people nowadays are not familiar with the 60s sitcom, which is fine, don't get me wrong, but try to claim that the Barry Sonnenfeld, it's not as dark as it's not as edgy as the Barry Sonnenfeld films. Well, here's the thing, the Addams Family, that's not the source material though. The Addams Family, don't get me wrong, I like a more edgy take on the Addams Family as much as the next guy. That doesn't mean now that all of them have to be like that. The Addams Family, when Charles Addams created the franchise, it was meant to be a family-friendly franchise. It wasn't meant to be, adult only. So I don't know. Like, it just comes across as people who clearly don't know what they're talking about, to be honest. But
what a shock! Critics not knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of it going on nowadays.
Might as well use that point to bring up again.
Skylar!
Yeah.
No! They got Skylar! Ellie just killed Skylar, guys.
We're back to this crap again, finally.
Finally, back to murdering people.
Keep her down. Let's see.
You fail.
Say his name. Say his name. I dare you, motherfucker. Yeah, Chris! Yes! Chris! No!
How?
Oh no, they killed Chris Thorndike, guys.
Wait. That's a sad thing, Shiri.
Can I just ask a question? How did you know he was dead when his body was clearly out of sight of you guys?
Because he's psychic. Anyway, check this out. This guy is literally running all the way across from the other side just to get me. Okay, I commend your dedication, good sir.
In fact, actually, that example I gave earlier about that Doctor Who thing, that was a bit of a poor example because that's a TV episode. I probably should have said Sausage Party because I'll read the critic consensus for the movie. Sausage Party is definitely offensive, but backs up its enthusiastic profanity with an impressively high laugh to gag ratio and a surprisingly thought-provoking storyline. What's so thought-provoking about it? It's a bunch of idiotic food running around with an orgy at the end.
Okay. As someone who likes that movie, even I raise an eyebrow at thought-provoking. Like,
I haven't seen it, so I can't speak for it.
It's food fight. It's food fight. It's a more polished food fight. That's what.
Okay. Let me explain. It's essentially a parody off of children's CGI animated films. The sort of the stuff that DreamWorks became famous for doing back in the early 2000s, essentially.
Me personally, I don't know what was more baffling. That apparently we haven't learned anything from Food Fight in terms of what kind of comedy it was going for, and all the bloody shop references that we're making, or that they somehow got Alan Menken of all people to do the score for it.
I mean, personally, I like it. It's definitely not for everyone, though, and can be very crass. I wouldn't compare it to Food Fight because Food Fight was going for more a Wreck-It Ralph sort of thing with the whole...
Well, it was before Wreck-It Ralph, so...
Was it? I thought Sausage Fest came out in 2013.
No. Food Fight came out in 2012.
Oh, no.
Sausage Party was like 2016.
Dibs, I was talking about...
Food Fight.
Sausage Party with that.
I thought you were about Food Fight.
I don't know. When it comes to Food Fight, okay, like I said, Food Fight wasn't necessarily trying to go for the same thing that Sausage Party was going for, but I guess you could say maybe they overlined a bit here.
I do like that detail of that guy having his wounded, bleeding head in the water and caused the water to get all with blood over it, so that's a nice detail at least.
Well, I mean, it's a Naughty Dog game, you kind of expect...
So to go down
graphical detail.
Row your boat.
Your boat. Oh god, it's Star Trek 5 now.
If you see a crocodile, don't forget to scream.
Enjoy now, everyone, our ride down the river rapids of revenge.
I actually like it better, Dwebs, when we see it in the Mr. Bean movie, where both Mr. Bean and his friend, when they're drunk, going on, and every time they get to that point, it's always Bean who screams, so...
And then when they get surprised by the guy's wife being like, more genuine scream.
Yeah. That's actually to me at least, one of the all-time great film adaptations of a famous TV show. Like, they did a great job in capturing the spirit of the show while still having its own unique elements to it. Just not to make it feel like an extended episode. Instead, actually have it a more involved storyline, and at the same time have its own unique little touches to it.
I mean, I was just more baffled that they didn't have the theme song from the TV show because they share the same composer.
I also have to say this. Whoever came up with the idea for a Mr. Bean movie where Mr. Bean destroys Whistler's mother, America's greatest painting, my good sir, I want to shake your hand, because that is one of the most hilarious premises I have ever heard in my life. Don't worry, Jova. Fortunately, he fixes it. He replaces it with a poster.
Kind of, yeah.
apparently he's very good at making posters look like the genuine article.
Well, remember, if you notice, he uses all that kind of stuff to make it look like it's been, painted and it's old, So as long as you don't actually allow anyone to get near the painting, which of course you will never be able to allow to be close enough to notice it's a fake because it's Whistler's fucking mother. It's basically America's Mona Lisa, basically. It's just going to be. I have to. Fun fact, Jova. I learned thanks to that movie that you guys at one point allowed a French museum to own that painting until you finally bought it back. Like, seriously,
well, actually, in the context of the Mr. B movie, the picture was apparently owned by a British museum until they gave it back to the States.
Oh, is it? Well, whatever. Well, my point still stands, though.
Saves hands a lot of time.
Well, it's now been in America permanently for a long time by this point, hasn't it?
I think so. But anyway,
I was asking Jova, since I'm guessing he would know.
Yes.
Okay then. All right.
Anyway, that was the end of our commentary on Critical Consensus. I hope you enjoyed our essay. Join us next time for more of the same.
See ya.
See ya.
Well,